All right. So I want to make a few things clear before I get into my points here. Trying to organize over here in this disorganized mess, but I'm re-recording this because for starters, I thought when I first discussed this, I thought it was way too long. It was about over an hour long. This might be the case here. But I didn't like the length of it because it was the second topic and it made the episode longer than it need to be. The entire episode longer than I would have liked it to be. Let me just put it that way. Also, there are certain things that I felt I could have clarified better in the first recording of this that I did here. I noted it down here. So hopefully I clarify it better. But now that I got that out the way, and for the video watchers, this is like a straight up just impromptu-ish type of recording. You're not gonna get the professional setup. It is what it is. I'm on my bed just chilling, lounging, getting this over with. But anyways, the lighting doesn't matter, or at least not to me, at least. I'll try to turn the light up, but let's get into it. My thoughts on the attempted assassination of former president or the next president again, Donald J. Trump. So this happened on July 13th for those who've been living under a rock. Um, and I waited for some time to speak on it because the usual, I had other things to talk about, and also I wanted to gather as much evidence as possible for me to feel comfortable until I felt comfortable speaking about it. But I did mention a couple weeks ago or so that I was going to speak on this, so here I am. Um, my thoughts was these weren't necessarily my initial thoughts. They were kind of it, but the moment when it happened, I was actually in the middle of recording, and I noted that a couple weeks ago as well. I was in the middle of recording for this podcast. So amongst that chaos as it was going down, I was totally oblivious, as I typically am, to the world when I am in my creative mode. So I had no idea, again, that this was happening at the moment, right? I don't check my phone during recordings. I'm just focused on whatever I'm doing. So I did that and I found out about what happened um when I was on my break. I'd finished wrapping up the second topic of the episode. I believe it was the episode called The Early Christmas Miracle, right? Um yeah, it was that episode. I finished wrapping up the second topic of that episode. And as I do with every single episode, every single recording, when I go on my breaks, I usually go on my phone, I get something to eat, I replenish on water and stuff, and I will just, sit and watch a video for at least 5, 10 minutes, sometimes even half an hour or so. But I was just scrolling on social media. I went on Twitter and I saw what happened pretty much. I went on other social media platforms as well. Um, and I was like, hold on, like what are folks talking about? So I went on Twitter, saw it, and I was like, yo, that's crazy. That was my initial response. So like it's crazy. Someone really tried. I'm not surprised. I mean, you put that energy out there. And I'm gonna say this, and if YouTube, I just started Rumble, by the way, for this specific reason. Because if I say this video gets taken down, this channel gets taken down, I'm just gonna go over to Rumble and start uploading there, and all that stuff, and having a podcast be specifically there. So for anyone who is wondering, I mean, not the podcast be specifically there, the visual aspect of the podcast be specifically over to Rumble. So it's pretty much a backup to YouTube just in case, because y'all know, well, those who've been listening to me or at least been aware of the YouTube, no, the suppression is crazy. And I'm not going to not speak on things because I don't want to get silenced. Whatever. They already demonetized me there. So it's like, let me speak my shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there are no advertisers. Not to say that that would not say my piece if I was getting monetization on YouTube, but there are no businesses advertising on my videos. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not like the things that I'm saying can be somehow misconstrued as that business or that whoever is running ad agrees with what I said. No, there are no ads. So stop suppressing it. But they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and that's why I had to mention that. That's why I had to create a Rumble. So again, if this video gets my channel taken down, it's already got a stupid ass warning um, that they won't remove, even though I removed the video that they told me to remove. And then I removed the video, and then the warning is still there. But, and ironically, it's a video about Trump as well. So that's what I'm making the disclaimer here for the visual watchers that if something were to happen to the channel or this video, go over to Rumble and you'll be able to find again this video. And going forward, if you wanted to support the podcast visually, it will go to Rumble if this gets taken down. All right. Now back on to my reaction. Again, at first I was joking around and clowning around with the rest of people who did so. Not because of some I hate Trump so much and I'm a Democrat voter. No, none of that. It was because this country is a fucking joke. And you know, you gotta laugh at stuff, especially when you gotta laugh at individuals who pretend to be like tough, and when moments like this happen, they either talk like they are the shooter and then obviously they can't shoot. Unfortunately, they being the shooter did ended up killing somebody, but I'm pretty sure the person that they ended up killing was not their target. Trump was their target and they missed Trump. I don't think a bullet grazed him. I think apparently some monitors got hit and glass shards hit his ear. But even if a bullet did graze him, you didn't kill him. That's number one. Number two, again, it's usually the people who talk the toughest about these situations. And then when this stuff happens, you see how they react. And I'm talking on both sides. You got a lot of Democrats, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them were wishing death on Trump, like just always wish death on Trump, right? I remember when he ended up getting COVID, right? This was years ago, obviously. And there were people wishing that COVID took him out. It obviously didn't. That's that. So if you were someone who did that in the past, I am pretty sure. And even I saw this. I didn't see this plenty of it, but I did see a few folks was like wishing that Trump got hit, or at least hit meaning like he got like it was a kill shot, not a grazed shot, right? There were folks wishing that on him. And yet in this moment, uh a lot of them were silent. A lot of them were silent. A lot of them pretended like they didn't um they never had ill feelings toward Trump. Um, and it's like I understand why they did it because if you usually when people talk that much stuff about somebody wishing death on people, and then when it happens, it hits them like, oh snap, I could be looked at as an accomplice in this situation because I was out here talking greasy, right? Then you got the other side, the Trumpers who always talk about or yeah, they seem not all of them again, not everybody, but there are the folks who will say things like they welcome this type of energy. Even Trump welcomed this type of energy. Whereas I'm glad that he's not dead, but I am not surprised that this happened to him. Granted, I in no way, shape, or form am I saying Joe Biden is a peaceful man, but Joe Biden never threatened, or at least not on camera, has ever said that he can get away with murdering somebody in Times Square or anywhere, right? Again, to my knowledge, not on camera. All right. So I'm going only going based off of camera on camera because that's what Trump did. He said back in 2016 or so, right? That he can shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue, Times Square, and he can get away with it. All right. And if I got the locations messed up, I don't give a fuck. Fuck New York. All right. Anyways. Um yeah, so he invited that energy out there as well. His supporters invite the energy of gun violence and going toe to toe with folks. And then when this happens, all I saw was a bunch of Republican pearl clutching, right? That's all I saw. Now, when I first, again, this is on the Saturday on the 13th, right? When I first, again, got the news and was looking into it, um, I saw BB gun being trending, right? And people mentioning that it was a BB gun that shot him as to why he didn't die. Well, as I mentioned a few moments ago, someone did die. And from the research that I found, and I'll leave links in the description box below, um, it was an AR style rifle. So don't know why people just assumed it was a BB gun. Um, or at least, not a non-lethal rifle. I mean, there are AR style BB guns, but this one was apparently not a. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was, a BB gun, whatever, airsoft or whatever, is the, I guess, correct terminology for, or the non-threatening terminology for it. Even though airsoft guns are supposed to be non-lethal, compared to obviously lethal weapons. Um, so not talking about the movie, but shout out to the movie. But anyways, um, I'll get right into my thoughts. Like I said, I thought I was joking around with folk, not because on some I hate Trump so much that I want him to die. I want him to be murdered. No. No matter how I feel about Trump, Biden, Kamala Harris, whoever, right? I don't want them to be murdered because I disagree with them. And that's the thing between myself and a lot of you diehard fans out there of any politician. I never want people to be murdered. Now, if you out here, again, that's the energy you put out, that's the energy you're gonna get back. It's not gonna surprise me. I'm not gonna cry for these folks if something were to happen to them. But I'm not going to invite that. I'm not going to wish that. Let me put it that way. I'm not going to wish that on them per se. Do I want them in in positions of a president or whatever high position? No, I don't. But you can vote people out. You know what I'm saying? Like voting someone out does not mean let's kill them. This ain't Sparta, nigga. Like this ain't how many votes do we is this person going to get to kick them down the well or not? Like this ain't that. I know a lot of y'all white motherfuckers is barbaric like that, and that's part of your culture. But if you're claiming to be the more civil individuals, you have to then go based on how uh society is now. And how society is supposed to work now is if there are politicians or people in power that we do not want in power anymore, or potentially can go back into power, or just get power, we do not go around just killing them to stop them from getting into power. we make sure we do the proper actions, as in we vote and use our voice to make sure they don't gain or regain said power. So, with that being said, yeah, whether I am a supporter of Trump or not, I don't want him to be murdered because I disagree with him. All right. Now that that's out the way, let's get into my thoughts after they've settled in for a few weeks. Much like a lot of people, a lot of the Democrat shills, I actually think that this is a very suspicious moment in time. Okay. Now, my reasoning for why I don't believe this lone shooter, which his name is Thomas Matthew Crooks, the reason as to why I don't believe um this is just as it seems is not the same reasons as to why you have Democrat voters and their celebrity shills saying they don't believe things are as it seems. They're obviously saying that because they're hypocrites. When false shootings happen under a or happen in general, well, not false shootings, when shootings in general happen, um, that happen to a person or a group of people that they align with politically, right? Or morally in quotation marks, they will scream, let's have compassion, stop with the conspiracy theories, people died. They threw all that other stuff, right? All the stuff that, you know, one would say in a situation like this. But then when it happened to a guy like Donald Trump, again, someone that they hate, they despise, not just politically, but morally as well, in quotation marks with morally. Once again, um, and then it's, oh, we don't believe it. We don't believe this happened. Now, again, my reasoning has to go with a lot of just how that day was, as far as the scenery, the lack of protection, the response from Trump, kinda, honestly, that plays a lot in my suspicion as well, to be honest with you. But the bulk of it, well, I won't say it plays a lot. That plays his response is about 5%. The other 95% of my suspicion as to why I believe this situation is real suspicious is because of the lack of response before, during, and sometime after the initial shots were rung out. So essentially, all of the security is the reason as to why I feel as though uh things aren't as it seems, as they're making it seem. Okay. Um, let's start with how the shooter was able to climb onto that warehouse roof with the rifle and be there for a total of two or over 2 minutes before he was identified and shot by Secret Service. Okay. There were people who noticed the man, people who were near where Trump was, on the field where he was making the speech. And there are people who can hear him speak. There's a video of the guy, the redhead guy, the Trump supporter. And he's like, he was with a group of his friends, family, and all that. And he noticed the dude on the roof as well. And he's trying to flag down the law enforcement there, the protection, a little bit of protection that was there, right? Um, he's trying to flag them down and say, hey, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. Y'all should go handle that. From his recollection, the security guards either didn't hear him. It seemed as though they were pretending not to hear him, and those who couldn't ignore him anymore were like, yeah, we're gonna do something about it. eventually. That's how they behaved. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying that these were direct quotes, but that's what that's what their behavior seemed as though. Again, we're talking about a threat on a roof with a rifle. And then you have this former president doing a speech out in open, right? And yet the behavior is, yeah, we'll get to it. You should have got to it before the shooter took somebody's life and injured two people. Now, upon my research, that's what I found. Injured two people. Trump is, I don't know if Trump was included in one of those two people that was injured or it was an additional two people. But whether you dislike the guy or not, he's still a person and he was still injured. So I'm saying two to three people. But one individual was killed. None of them was Trump. Okay. Not saying that like, oh my God, gosh darn it. No, I'm saying obviously Trump wasn't killed. But nonetheless, upon my research, and I got that information from the Associated Press. Again, I'll leave the link in the description box below. Okay. But two people were injured. They didn't say the names of the two, but I just want to make it clear for those who are going to you go throw that number around and they're not and Trump is not one of those two people. Trump was injured too. And again, you don't have to like the guy, but he's still a person. So if we're going to put the numbers out there, let's be accurate about the numbers. If Trump is not one of the two, he was one other person that was injured. So it'd be one death and three injured individuals, not one death and two individuals. And that piece of shit that was, former president and former president or whatever you describe him as, right? So that's just a little side tangent there. But again, as I stated before, the fact that he was even able to get on the roof was very suspicious to me. With the rifle, that's very suspicious. And then for as long as he did was very suspicious. Apparently, once Secret Service was notified about him, they had their sights on him, but they didn't take the shot until after his seventh or eighth shot or so, right? No one tried to sneak up behind him. No one tried to gang up on him, at least, and say, "Don't do it. We got one guy over at here. Who's got his sights on you, and there's 50 of us right behind you right now. You take a shot, you're done, son." No one tried that. No one tried that. And I'm not former law enforcement, but Eric Goldberg, who is a retired police officer, um, granted, he more so worked with the division that took down pedophiles and children who were being kidnapped and things of that nature. But the law enforcement is law enforcement, and he also has done work in this field of uh, working with the Secret Service to protect what they call dignitaries, which is the individual who was being protected at the time, whether it was a low level dignitary or a high level, such as a former president of the United States. Uh, Still, the protocols are the same. The local police department of wherever the city or state where the dignitary is presented will work side by side with Secret Service or whatever the protection agency is, and they will, again, there's surveillance that's a part of it. Um, and I'll get into that, but there's surveillance that's a part of what's going on. Um, and just a bunch of other things to make sure that if there's a threat, we are on it. Eric Goldberg, once again, and I'll leave the video he did with Graham Elwood um, of Political Vigilante. I've mentioned Graham before, big fan of his work, not just as a comedian, but just his work that he does exposing this stuff. Great guy. So check his stuff up as well. Again, already shot a dude out. But Eric Goldberg, um, he also has his own podcast as well. And he talked about a lot of this stuff. I mentioned him because one, a lot of my points as I'm listening to them talk about this situation, especially with Eric, a lot of my thoughts, and again, I'm not law enforcement, I'm not anything, but a lot of the questions and the thoughts that I had, Eric had the same questions. Eric had the same assessment of what went on. And again, this is someone who never who's not law enforcement. I don't even like law enforcement, but you know, y'all know my feelings about him. But this is someone who is just I'm just, if we really want to get to the nitty-gritty, I'm just an author. I'm a writer. You know what I'm saying? I'm a podcaster. And nothing to do with anything with law enforcement at all, you know? And yet I was able to come up with these questions of how was he able to even get on the roof? Why wasn't that area not surveilled or protected? Why was it took 2 minutes and over 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes for him to finally be subdued and spotted and subdued? Okay. Meanwhile, there were people in the crowd who also were likely not law enforcement who noticed the dude, noticed the threat that he posed, him having a rifle, warned the actual law enforcement about it. And response was, again, very, very shitty. I don't care if it was 2 minutes. I don't care if it was 7 minutes. It was shitty. It was a shitty ass response from both Secret Service and the local law enforcement there in Pennsylvania. You know what I'm saying? I'll get into my thoughts on Secret Service at the very end. But just to stay on point, again, that was red flag number one. How was this man able to even get on a roof with a gun, with a rifle, and be there for about 2 minutes? Wow, law enforcement is aware or at least being warned by people, hey, there's a guy on the roof. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think he's one of y'all. So that was red flag number one. Okay. Um, since we're talking about the whole surveillance thing, and this is next in my notes, I'll talk about Thomas Matthew Crooks being able to do what he did. Well, again, according to Associated Press, according to other articles that I read as well, um, Thomas flew a drone over the area where Trump was going to be hours before this event happened, once again on July 13th. All right. So you're telling me, and I got this in my notes, you're telling me this man, young man, he was 20 years old, but nonetheless, you're telling me someone like him he did better surveillance of the area than the FBI. You know what I'm saying? Than the FBI, than well, Secret Service, FBI really, but Secret Service, and the local police department. And also with this whole aspect of him flying the drone over there, why was there no way the drone was detected prior to the event starting? You can't even like if you've ever been to a protest, right? And you've taken out your phone, you know what I'm saying? You took out your phone and there's cops, there's riot police there. They freak out if you were to just take out your phone because they think you're trying to record them do some shady shit. Not everybody, but it happens. You know what I'm saying? So let alone a damn drone, yo. Someone flying a drone over to the area. You don't think they would have shot that drone down in an instance? Again, this is supposed to be a part of their homework. They're being both the Secret Service and law enforcement. This is supposed to be a part of their homework. They're supposed to, during these events, no matter who the dignitary is, a high level, low level, they're supposed to be on the lookout for all this stuff. The heavy presence, Graham Elwood mentioned this, and again, you can go look at his video and a link in the description box below as well. But he mentioned how there was a man who went to back in 2020, I believe. I think it was 2020. It was years ago, nonetheless, where there was another speech that Trump did. This was like some time out like in the outskirts of Pennsylvania. So near Pennsylvania, so but it was in the area, right, of Pennsylvania. Um, where Trump spoke. And the man went to both rallies. He went to the one back in 2020 or so, and he went to the one that was a couple weeks ago. This man, he spoke about the one in 2020 being heavily surveilled. There was men on the roof with guns and men being Secret Service men, and it was heavily surveilled. It was protected. It was making sure there was like no way in hell someone was gonna climb on the roof with a rifle, climb on a roof, period. If you weren't Secret Service, if you weren't the local PD, you know what I'm saying? So it's like he was saying that event was heavily surveilled and protected compared to the one 2 weeks ago. And he's like, this is weird. Where's the men on the roof? Where's the guys with the rifles? Where's everybody? Where's like really it's just people around the stage, not over here, there, behind me, in front of me, aside of me. Like, no, look, this just around the stage. They go, and there's two guys on this roof, but there's other roofs around that are just empty nesters. Yeah, that's another red flag. I'm not that guy, but even people who've went to Trump rallies before, whether it's a Trump rally, someone else's rally, or again, a public place where there's heavy police or presence. I was just at the Celtics parade a couple weeks ago or so, right? You know, there was heavy police there, and this is a Celtics parade, a sporting event. Still police present there. Now, I'm not going to say it was crazy amount. They weren't people on roofs making sure nobody was trying to assassinate, the Celtics or anything. But there were obviously police officers there to make sure that things didn't go crazy, or at least super crazy. Because I mean, it's Boston, so shit is going crazy. But my point is that you know there's protection. There was not a place anywhere around the parade area where there wasn't police. Swear to God, I walked from downtown to other places in that area. I didn't stay, I left about 2 hours before the parade actually ended. So I was there pretty much all day. And again, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't stay in one spot all day. I went walking at places. There were some certain areas where I went staying and sitting around and longer than others. But I was walking with pretty much the entire travel crew. There was not anywhere where there wasn't police presence, is what I'm saying. Heavy police presence. There was some areas lighter than others, but nonetheless, there was cops everywhere. So again, this is a sporting event. This is, or at least a celebration of, sports. Not saying that, my Celtics don't deserve protection at all. Absolutely. I'm not saying that. But we're comparing a sports team, we're comparing athletes to a political figure, you know? The protection, and I know it's Boston and Pennsylvania or Massachusetts and Pennsylvania. I get it. Different law enforcement uh different states, so obviously different cops and all that stuff, and again, different events. But nonetheless, it should have been seen as at least a bigger threat to someone's life, especially to Donald Trump, as I mentioned before, someone who has invited this type of energy. So it's not, the shooting isn't a surprise. I don't care who feels however they feel about it. The shooting isn't a surprise to me. I'm not saying that I welcome it, that I like that it happened, but it's not a surprise. But again, like that man didn't even get the protection that Celtics got, is the point that I'm making. And not saying the Celtics don't deserve it, but a sports team got more protection than a former president of the United States. That ain't suspicious to y'all. I don't know what is. But, that was the thing. It was like the lack of security was a big reason. Again, Crooks was able to fly a drone and he did his homework better than the Secret Service and the cops did. Now, what mainstream media wants us to believe is this 20-year-old outsmarted Secret Service and the local police officer by pretty much doing more homework on the area than they did. That could be the case. Because if you know anything about me in this channel, or this podcast, that I've been preaching about how useless law enforcement is. So, I mean, their stupidity in this situation isn't surprising either. But is it the more likely outcome? No, I don't believe that it's the more likely outcome that they just were outsmarted by Matthew Crooks to the point where or Thomas Matthew Crooks to the point where he was able to just know, okay, they're not surveilling this area, this roof, this warehouse roof. So this is where I'm going to make my shot. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he just outsmarted them and they were like, gosh darn it, we forgot that place there. I don't believe that for a second. Again, these folks are dumb, obviously, but like not, I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a fact because even if that was the only area that was not covered, the simple fact of the matter is it seemed as though that like I said, most of the security was around the stage where Trump was at, not anywhere around, which to me again screams suspicion. Oozes suspicion. You know what I'm saying? Um The FBI did confiscate the drone that Crooks flown around. Don't know if they're ever going to release some type of footage um, of what he was looking at. But obviously, it's to me, it's obvious that he was looking at the area where Trump would be. He was looking at the area in general. He's looking at an area where he could be to make his shot. Right? But they don't have a motive. They killed him, obviously, so they can't talk to the dead, and or at least they don't have any methods to speak to the dead, to see what type of motives and what was going on within his mind as to why he did what he did. Um, this is going into my third point as to why I believe, um, oh, I don't believe. It's not like a believe thing. Why because this is a question I had too, and a question that I think a lot of other people have. Why? Why did he do it? Right? I've seen some folks say things like it sucks that they didn't take him in alive because we now don't know what the motive is. The thing is, and I'm giving law enforcement and Secret Service a hard time because they fucking deserve it. But during a situation like that, you have to shoot to kill. You don't shoot to incapacitate. You shoot rubber bullets or a sleeping dart or horse bullets, tranquilizers, whatever. You shoot to kill in a situation like that. You know what I'm saying? Again, this is someone who is trying to kill a politician. You know what I'm saying? A high priority dignitary, or just trying to kill in general. You got to shoot to kill in those situations. He posed a threat. This is an exact reason as this is a moment to where it is very much excusable. And it's not because I know some folks gonna say, "Oh, it's because Matthew is white." I keep going to Matthew, but Thomas is white. That I'm okay with the cops killing him. No, I'm okay with the cops killing him in that moment because he was trying to kill someone else. You see how it works when you kill someone who is a threat. You ain't going to get me to say things like a threat, like an actual threat with a gun. You're not going to get me to say things like, "Oh, they could have shot his leg. They could have shot him with a tranquilizer gun. They could have used non-lethal ways to." No, as I stated before, he killed people. He killed somebody. Someone actually died. He also injured two, maybe three people, depending on if the reporting on the two other injuries are including Trump or not, amongst those who were injured. Nonetheless, he harmed individuals. He had to be taken out. Simple as that. Where the non-lethal incapacitation or just non-lethal methods of getting him should have been in effect was when he was first identified by the crowd and was up there for 2 fucking minutes. Or before he even was able to climb up on there with a rifle in hand, somebody could have grabbed him up, someone could have shot him from behind, whatever, got him and say, "We know you was look, what are you doing with that rifle?" Get some motives there. That's when the non-lethal stuff could have been in full effect. But after taking off shooting off a few shots and injuring the president, killing somebody, injuring other people as well. Yeah, nah, this ain't the time for some non-lethal. We are never gonna get an answer. No, you shoot to kill, no matter who that individual is. And this is not again for those you gotta say this stupid ass shit. And I'm not gonna continue to say it because it causes the videos and the audio to be longer than it needs to be. This is not on some, yeah, kill the guy because he tried to kill my president, Trump. You know what I'm saying? My president, meaning the person that I vote for. No, didn't vote for him back then, not voting for him this go around either. It's a shoot to kill situation because he's an active threat who just killed somebody. I don't care if it was intentional or not. His shots, his terrible shots killed somebody. He's got to go. Simple as that. He intended on killing somebody. It's just the person that he did end up killing wasn't the person he intended on killing. But the intent was there to still harm and kill somebody. So he's got to go. It's really that simple, to me at least. Now, let's get on to my conspiracies as to why. I think the easy answer is to say this was a a failed attack by the Democrats to kill him. I can't really quote these things because I saw them here and there. They're not circulating around. I believe that's for a reason. But I saw some folk try to insinuate that Joe Biden or just some other Democrat was on a call days before uh days before this happened, and they were pretty much saying we got to stop Trump. we got to stop him. There was some language that was supposedly used to try to justify or try to reason as to why this happened, especially again, seen as this call reportedly or supposedly allegedly happened again days before the 13th. You know, um, if you all are aware about that, please let me know about it. You can do so by commenting or let me know on Instagram. If it's legit, if it's some propaganda stuff, keep that ish to yourself in your little corner of supporters, whatever. But if you're gonna share some stuff with me, it's got to be legit, not echo chamber stuff, not BS that you want to be true, but actually be true. So there's that. But that's the easy answer. I don't think that's the case. I don't think the now granted, I don't care who this offends or not, but it's the easy response because you had, and I don't know Thomas Matthew Crooks's political leaning. It doesn't necessarily say. Well, I don't. We've seen videos of him and this, that, and the third. Um, but he seems like a troll. Like he seemed like he was like he's one of those awkward trolls and stuff. People said he was a nice guy. He was a nice guy. Everyone always says nice guys are dangerous, this, that, and the third. And let me tell you, we are dangerous, but there's a level of dangerous that there's dangerous and then there's deranged. Some nice people are deranged. Some nice people are dangerous. It's not a bad thing to be dangerous at times. And people gonna say gets taken. I don't give a fuck. I'm not saying be a threat. Being dangerous, what I mean in this situation is being someone who can stand up for themselves when they need to, but they're not walking around here acting like a tough guy. You're a nice guy. You're a nice individual. You don't need to go around here toting your guns if you have guns. You don't need to be going around here walking around acting like you're the toughest individual. You can be a nice person. You are a nice person, but you can be the threat if you are threatened. That's what I mean by that. Deranged are people who, you know, on the outside may appear nice and normal or whatever, but on the inside scrambled. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they can't even hide it. They can't even hide it. You know? Nonetheless, he did what he I don't care if he was the meanest person ever. Nice, mean, whatever. I mentioned that because I did see, and I believe it was probably CNN, likely them tried to say, oh, he was a nice guy. Y'all hate it when cops are being treated that way when they get away with murder, or when they murder somebody. So keep the same energy. You know what I'm saying? We don't care about how nice they were to somebody else or to people around them. They tried to harm somebody else. They did harm somebody else. I don't give a fuck how nice they were to other people. You know what I'm saying? They did this thing. A true nice individual is not going to harm anybody. That they dislike. Nice people are, we dislike motherfuckers all the time, but we don't feel the need to go around killing them or harming them. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, just because I disagree with Trump, this is just because I disagree with any politician doesn't mean I want them to be killed for the things that I disagree with them on. No, that's nonsense. That's deranged. I'm not going to try to attempt to silence politicians that way. My way of silencing them, in a sense, in quotation marks, is just not voting for them, voting against their policies, voting against them in general, not supporting them. Whenever I can speak up, but not silencing myself, speak up against them, I'm going to do so, as I've done so, as I will continue to do so. So that's my thing. But again, that's the easy target. I got a little sideswiped, but as I stated, that's the easy way for Republicans to try to justify it. I don't think that's the likely reason as to why this man did it. It was like a dim attack. Um, it's funny because as I was saying before, eh, this guy was a terrible shooter, man. Unfortunately, like with all terrible shooters, their target isn't the one that ends up getting hit. And people die, people get injured, lives are changed because terrible shooters are out here being terrible shots. This is the party of this being Democrats of let's take away the guns. If this was a Dem attack, right? It would be very ironic for them to then obviously hire some deranged loony like him, who apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently he appeared in a commercial for BlackRock. I'm gonna just leave that there. Not even in going in deeper into that, only because it's gonna make this longer than it needs to be. And I already know this is over an hour long, but I'm satisfied with what I've said thus far, and I'm pretty much at the end, so I might as well keep going. Anyways, um, yeah, I don't think it would make sense if this was just a dim style of attack and it was a failed Democrat assassination. Now, I don't put it aside any political party or any people in power to do this stuff. Don't say that they will never do it. I'm not saying that. Absolutely not. I'm just saying in this situation here, as far as possible motives, because I have three reasons here and I can't settle on one. Nonetheless, not nonetheless. I have three reasons. Well, not even three, two. Two reasons. And the one that I just named is not the one that I truly believe is the reason. I don't think the Dems are behind this at all. I don't um it's not saying it's not their style, but it just I feel as though they get people to who actually know how to finish the job. They wouldn't hire some 20-year-old who apparently is a background actor for BlackRock or whatever the case is. They wouldn't do that. It's not their style. When they want to take care of you, and both parties know how to take care of people. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I don't mean take care as in, the what the word should mean. I mean take care and as in what the word should not mean. That's all I'm gonna say there. But when they want to take care of you, the Democrats have a history of finishing the job. You know what I'm saying? Obama's, Clinton, that's all I'm gonna say. But if they want to take care of you or when they want to take care of you, they get someone to do it that knows what they're doing. They're not gonna hire some pipsqueak. Sorry. It is what it is. And I'm not sorry because, he did what he did. But, they're not going to do this. Hence why I believe it's not a democratic attack. This time, but no, it's not. It's not. Um, Planned incompetence was more so the reason. And what do I mean by planned incompetence? Well, before I get into that, I want to say to everyone that was screaming it's a false flag because that's what they want to do now. Now all of a sudden false flags is a real thing that happens. When it happened to a Donald Trump or a Republican, now all of a sudden, no, this ain't real. Let me tell you what a false flag is. All right. False flags are events that it's not that no one got shot. It's not that no like this thing didn't really happen. It's that it was planned to go wrong. Okay. It wasn't as it seems, as I mentioned before, but it wasn't as you know, it wasn't just a lone wolf thing. Now, granted, they're painting this dude as the lone wolf because obviously whoever was behind this, the bigger entity whoever was behind this. They're not gonna reveal and be like, all right, we messed up. Sorry, Trump, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna forgive us, man? You know, like we tried. We're sorry. All right, man. They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? But like, I don't think this kid, unless something comes out more to where it shows that, yeah, this man was really like, I do believe he was deranged and stuff, because many trolls are. And like I said, I believe he was a troll. A lot of these trolls, especially the ones that be watching these videos or listening to these episodes, the ones y'all be interacting with online and thinking they just funny people, no, they're actually fucking deranged. And the reason why you don't ever see me cackling with them is because I know they're fucking deranged individuals. I don't care if they joking about the slightest of things. These folks are deranged. There's funny people, and then there's deranged folks. There's dangerous folks, then there's deranged folks. All right, we can get into something deeper than that some in a future episode. Again, don't want to make this longer than it needs to be, but I do got to say, this to me was planned incompetence. Again, protection was not there the way that it should have been. The fact that there was cameras zoomed in on the stage and people being told, "Oh, just focus on the camera," instead of, you know, the area where the bullets came from, and again, protection was mainly around the stage. Now, granted, I'm not saying that no one should have been around Trump. Obviously, there should have been. But the security was a fucking joke, which was my last point. Security was a joke. Um, Secret Service, they take the biggest L of all of this. You know what I'm saying? Out of what happened a couple weeks ago, they take the biggest L. Now, I am not saying that they're not dangerous at all. Absolutely not. But they definitely did not paint themselves out to be very useful. But law enforcement in general, as I've mentioned before, have proven time and time again how useless they really are and how they actually escalate the danger when it comes to situations. You had the Uvalde situation that happened where the law enforcement should have done something, and their punk asses with more guns and more protection did not do anything. They allowed the shooter to go into this school and shoot up the entire school before they wanted to enact something. And hence why those families ended up getting the restitution that they got. Had law enforcement did what they did, those families and that community in general wouldn't have been able to then sue them for malpractice. But they did so and they won because it was clear that the law enforcement there did not do purposely, whether it was purposely, accidentally, whatever you want to call it, they did not do what they should have done in the first place. This situation right here, they didn't do their homework. And I think that it was planned incompetence. What do I mean by that? Planned incompetence to me, or my definition of it, I don't know if I made up this term, but this has been a term that's been flown around in my mind for the longest. So I'm going to take credit for it. Planned incompetence is when uh, somebody, or just, yeah, because people are the ones who plan, right? So somebody or a group of people uh are purposely incompetent. Now, how can one be purposely incompetent? It's pretty much like if you, again, if it's supposed to be a situation where you're providing security for somebody, and if you were to practice your security duties or plan out the security measures the way that you normally do, where it's protection everywhere, um, in this situation, it just happened to not be that way, right? It just happened to not be a situation to where uh you do not do what you've always done, you know? To me, that does not scream, a bad decision. It to me it screams, oh, this was planned because 99.999999992% of the time, y'all do things this way. But this 1.000000085 time percent of the time, this 1% of the time, essentially, you decided let's not do it the way that we've done it in the past that's been proven to work. Yeah, to me, that is planned incompetence. To me, it's you planned it to be that way. You planned it to for the security to be as lax as it was. You planned it to have this shooter not hit Trump anywhere detrimental, but pretty much almost to make it look that way. Now, people are going to say, well, how does that work out? Why would anyone agree to that? Why would Thomas Matthew Crooks or anybody agree to doing that and then getting shot? Number one, MK Ultra. That's all I'm going to say. That could be one reason, though. Number two, a lot of these people within these false flags, and again, this shit gets taken down, flag for anything, rumble, baby. But a lot of these situations, the shooter doesn't even know they're on the chopping block. They think they're going to get away scot-free. They think that, and when I say scot-free, I mean they're going to get arrested, but they're not going to get killed. And they're just going to be put away in some secret little secret service hideout, and the public is going to be fed that they're locked up, they're in prison, this, that, and the third, and they're serving life somewhere, right? That's what's going to be fed to the public. But in actuality, they are away somewhere, but they're either given a new identity, like a straight up new identity, or they're away somewhere where they're pretty much living rent free somewhere because they carried out the duty for the government, or the government does actually take him out or take care of him, we'll put it that way, right? The government actually does take care of them because they want to silence them from speaking. But the people who are propped up, or the lone wolves or the whatever's, they're usually under the impression, because they probably was told, we're not going to kill you, man. Like, you do this thing, but we're not going to kill you. Relax. The government lies. The government lies. So they did what they did to take care of the mess. They probably told him they wasn't going to kill him. Don't kill the president. Don't kill Trump. But also, we're not going to kill you, okay? And then he was like, let me G. Shoot near him, right? And then they were like, okay, this is where we take the kill shot. His last thoughts was probably like, damn, they told me they didn't kill, they wasn't going to kill me. They lied to me. How could they? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I definitely don't believe that the Democrats are behind this. I don't, and if it is the Democrats, I don't think it's one political party that's behind it. I think if it is a political party, I think this was another example of bipartisanship coming together, if that is the case. But I do believe, and I do strongly believe that this dude did not just act on this alone. Yeah, he was the only shooter, but he did not plan this. He did not he did not act on this alone. I don't believe that for a second. But that's what I wanted to say here. That's what I said here. This episode has gone on long enough. And like I said, I don't know the fate of this video per se, or even a podcast, but I'm gonna still continue on anyways. Um, yeah, I'm gonna get ready. I'm not even gonna do the regular outro. I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna edit this, upload this episode I know it's gone on long enough, but if it is over 2 hours, it's over 2 hours. It is what it is. So yeah, I'll just do two separate episodes with it. I uh do it that way, like I said. So yeah, and y'all got the outro in the other episode anyway, so I don't need to say it again. Pray to God that I'm still here, that I still have this platform. I'm only doing what you set me out here to do, and that's to tell the truth. All right, later.